As beautiful as cave diving sounds, it is a formidable experience for both beginners and even decade-old professionals. You might have seen movies in which a sea adventure starts on a good note, but turns out to be a horror story in the end. Underwater caves are very much real in the dangers that it could pose to divers, as even experienced divers can take a turn for the worse. Today, we'll be looking at 5 more cave diving stories that went horribly wrong. This is the second episode of our cave diving tragedy stories, so if you haven't watched the previous ones, do check them out in the descriptions below. Ginnie Springs Cave Disaster. The story dates back to November of 1991 when a group of divers decided to do a research dive in the Ginnie Springs Cave. The Ginnie Springs is a circular spring pool that is 185 feet in diameter and 300 feet below the water surface. Moving north, you'll find a limestone cave within this pool. For a technical dive to be successful, the group divided itself into 3 teams each with a purpose of its own. The first 2 teams had to go into the cave and place gas bottles in each section. The gas bottles were placed for the last team, consisting of Parker Tuner and Bill Gavin, who had to do the actual task of cave exploring. Even though the water in Ginnie Springs remains crystal clear, sometimes silt can get dissolved in the water and reduce the visibility down to 0. This is why safety lines are placed in the cave system so that divers can attach themselves to the line and easily find their way out. When the first 2 teams went in and strategically placed the gas bottles, it was time for the last team, Bill and Parker, to go in. The rest of the crew strayed in the shallow regions of the water in case Bill or Parker needed assistance. Their plan was to take 40 minutes to reach the cave system, then take another 25 minutes to explore, and finally, the last 40 minutes would be used to return to the surface. In the beginning, all was going well, but a disaster struck when they were exiting the cave. Both Bill and Parker noticed that visibility had reduced down to 0, so they had to make use of the safety line to guide them through. To their horror, the safety line was embedded in layers of rock and sand and led to nowhere. What happened is that the entrance of the cave was blocked by heavy mudsliding of limestone deposits. They both frantically tried to find a way out for the next 45 minutes in poor visibility in a rapidly depleting supply of gas. Luckily, Bill noticed the safety line and in his panic began following it without giving it much thought. When Bill reached the next set of gas bottles, he quickly replenished his supply and noticed that Parker wasn't there with him. He knew in this instance that Parker never made his way out and tragically drowned. Parker's body was later retrieved and caused a media frenzy. According to experts, when the first 2 teams exited the cave and made their decompression stops, they left a good amount of exhaled air in the water. The buoyancy of the water changed and the limestone rocks became loose and began to fall, causing a mudslide that blocked the entrance. Ironically, Peter was a world-class diver and even trained police and rescue officers how to dive and retrieve bodies. It was an unfortunate, one-of-a-kind recorded incident where an entrance or exit to the cave had been disturbed and tragically prevented divers from exiting the cave. Ginnie Springs. Known to be one of the best places for scuba diving in Florida, Ginnie Springs is a perfect getaway to relax your mind. It's a privately owned natural park near Santa Fe River, so visitors can go swimming, snorkeling, and even scuba diving. The water is crystal clear to an unbelievable extent and gives you unlimited visibility in the presence of sunlight. This combined with the extensive network of underground caves and caverns makes it an ideal spot for divers. The gateway of these caves is located in the middle of the pond and leads to caves that stretches for miles. However, these caves are not ordinary. They continue to test the skills of even the most trained divers. On June 14, 2008, a group of 3 students visited Ginnie Springs for scuba diving. All of them knew how to dive, but on that day, one of the girls, named Shannon, had difficulties maintaining her equilibrium in the water. This meant that she couldn't ascend or descend at the same rate. Divers know how important it is to maintain equilibrium. Without proper maintenance, nitrogen from the gas tank can enter the bloodstream in an excessive amount and damage critical organs. This is what happened to Shannon, and she realized that she couldn't descend deeper. Her friends brought her to a shallower region so that she could fix the issue. In a surprising twist, as her friends were away, Shannon became unresponsive, and this was noticed by the nearby divers. Her skin turned a pale shade, her lips blue, and two lifeless eyes peering out of her glasses. She was immediately taken to the hospital, but unfortunately didn't survive. This wasn't the only tragic death that happened in Ginnie Springs. In the same year, a world-class diver named Mark Fave wanted to test an experimental rebreather. He had been diving since 1993 and had completed 1,000 dives by then, making him quite confident in his abilities. Being passionate about solo adventures, Mark went diving alone, which goes against one of the safety rules of diving. Always dive with a partner. He went by noon, and when he didn't return by 9 p.m., another diver named Corey began searching for him. Corey found Mark lying unconscious at a depth of 3,800 feet. The reason for his death is quite unclear. It's possible that his rebreather wasn't working properly, or he got stuck between two surfaces. His body was recovered the next day due to safety concerns and lack of visibility. Since then, Ginnie Springs has claimed the lives of 26 other divers. Waianapanapa. If we ask you to think of a dream vacation spot, the name of Hawaii might be on your mind. Waianapanapa was the name of a national park in Hawaii that boasts rare black sandy shores as well as crystal clear water. It's located in the city of Hana, which is a tiny city with a population of only 1,500. It's so far removed from the urban territory that for stretches you can only see natural attractions around you. Nevertheless, the city does have a few schools, hotels, and a single clinic. However, this means that in a medical emergency, you're going to have to be shifted to the other end of the island where proper hospitals are located. Beneath the water is an equally mesmerizing cave system. The cave's entrance has waist-high fresh water that shimmers in the sunlight that enters through the cave's opening. There's a popular legend regarding the Waianapanapa Cave. It's said that a Hawaiian princess took refuge in this camp when she fled away from her evil husband. She resided on the ledge inside along with her faithful maid who was constantly fanning her with a feather. The reflection of the feather in the water gave the princess away, and she was murdered by her husband on the spot. Regardless of the authenticity of this legend, this cave continues to attract visitors, one of which was Gregory Wilhelm, a 33-year-old man from Nevada, California. Gregory was always a nature lover and traveled far and wide, making many friends along the way. One day, he visited the Waianapanapa Cave along with 3 other friends, 1 man and 2 women. Once the group went to the cave, they spent some time admiring the breathtaking view and the crystal clear water. However, Gregory, being a curious person, decided to swim deeper and deeper into the cave, leaving the 2 women at the entrance. At some distance inside, the sunlight got dimmer and faded into complete darkness. Gregory was using his cell phone's torch that was wrapped in a Ziploc bag. Since the cave is full of passages, it's easy for someone who's not familiar with the cave to lose their way. At some point inside, Gregory and his friend accidentally got separated. His friend somehow managed his way out of the cave without Gregory and broke the news of his disappearance. Due to the remoteness of the location, his friend knew that only he could help Gregory, and so he went inside once again. He saw a light source in the distance that raised his hopes, but was horrified to discover that it was only Gregory's phone's flashlight, with no sign of him. Knowing the grim circumstances, Gregory's friend contacted the rescue team, who arrived by helicopter from the central island. They used bright underwater lights to search the area and unfortunately found the lifeless body of Gregory that was 75 feet away from the entrance. Eagle's Nest. Remarked as the Mount Everest of underwater caves, Eagle's Nest is a truly dangerous place for scuba divers. It has an extreme depth of 310 feet below a sinkhole in western Florida. However, this sinkhole in question couldn't be more different. It has murky waters on its surface, so much that you couldn't even see your feet underneath. It's also covered with algae, adding a highly unflattering green shade to it. Not to mention the annoying bugs that you will face along the way. You might wonder why such a place continues to mesmerize divers from all over the world. But the reason is simple. Never judge a book by its cover. Beneath the water's surface, you'll find Eagle's Nest, which are rocky formations that look like labyrinths. The cave system is divided into various passages, some narrow and some wide, extending up to a mile. There are also some rare underwater species, like cave-adapted crawfish. In October of 2016, 3 divers, Chris, Patrick, and Justin, arrived at Eagle's Nest. Chris and Patrick has previous experience with Eagle's Nest, so they went in first while Justin kept close to the surface. The group entered the water at around 2 p.m. and began exploring. Chris and Patrick swam to extreme depths to look at the various alcoves in the cave. They decided on the meeting point, and Justin was the first one to arrive. It wasn't shocking, as he was the closest to the surface. Reportedly, Justin kept checking the meeting point, and after 3 hours, he decided to call for help. The rescue team searched the whole evening, but to no avail. The next day, they discovered the bodies of Chris and Patrick next to each other, trapped at a depth of 260 feet. Alachua Sinkhole. Alachua Sinkhole, located in Florida, is found at the bottom of a circular cliff around 50 feet high. The trees constantly shed their debris in the water, giving it a green murky color. But once you're inside, you'll find a stunning network of caverns with marine life around it. At 130 feet, the cave splits into 2 openings. In 1992, 2 students from the University of Florida, one of them being Lance Crawford, recently acquired their diving license and decided to visit the Alachua Sinkhole. There are numerous warning signs across the cave to alert divers of the risk. However, Lance, being passionate about recreational sports, decided to take chances, while his friend wasn't as determined. Once inside the cave, the visibility was very poor, and they both clung to their safety lines. They might be on a different line, or the same one, but they were close to each other. Due to silt, they couldn't see each other, and somehow got separated. At some point, Lance got lost, and his friend spent 1 hour trying to find him. He resurfaced and checked for any bubbles on the surface that would show any signs of Lance, but there were none. He contacted the police, and after 11 hours, they showed up to search the cavern. By this time, hopes were already down, as a diver can't spend too much time inside on his own. After 2.5 days, Lance's body was found, stuck in an indentation. It was speculated that Lance was trying to find his way out and mistook the indentation for an opening. Cave diving can be an exciting and rewarding hobby, but there are so many things that can go wrong during a dive, even in the best conditions. Proper cave diving training should always be taken before diving into any caves, as well as being cave diving certified. Are there any cave diving stories that you know that isn't on this list? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching our Late Night Top 5 channel. We're a new channel and would love to have your support by subscribing, liking, or simply dropping a comment down below. To watch more interesting late night videos, click the links to continue watching more.